Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is my next video in my While I Was Out series. This is a series on my channel where I showcase looks that I wasn't able to film, but I still want to show you guys and talk about them. So I just took a quick little video to show you the look. I recapped the video in today's video, and I have 9 looks to share with you guys today. Check my description box for my While I Was Out playlist, and let's just get right into it. I believe today is the 15th video in my While I Was Out series, so definitely check the description box if you want to see a lot more eyeshadow looks. I do between 8 and 12 looks per video. So we're going to start off with look number 1. For this look, I used the Mighty Monster palette from Eye. I have 2 colors in my waterline, both from ColourPop. I used the shade Champs, which is purple, and the shade Big Splash, which is a lovely light blue color. On my lips, I'm wearing a liner from Italia Deluxe in 1060 Hot Cocoa, and the ColourPop lip oil in the shade Hay. This look was really pretty. It didn't feel very special to me. I liked the inner corner. Now, you may know that I really struggled with the Mighty Monster palette in general. I thought the color story was beautiful, and I got good looks from it, but it was so hard to work with. I really struggled. I used this palette several times in looks that are featured in today's video because I was just trying to fall in love with it. I did end up decluttering it. It's listed on my MERCARI currently, but hasn't sold yet. For look number 2, I used the Sigma Little Mermaid palette. I have brown in my waterline. I'm using a Glow Reviver lip oil on my lips, obviously, in the shade Pink Quartz. And I used a palette pull-in for this, which is a different project I have here on my channel where I have a random generator pull any palette from my collection, and I have to use every shade in that palette in consecutive order. By the way, today I'm going to be drawing my next palette pull-in. Anyway, for the looks in today's video, whenever I remembered to, I used my palette pull-in. It was the Lure palette from Blend Bunny Cosmetics. Okay, so in this look, I used the palette pull-in to create a deep lower lash line. Now, this look was kind of fun. I liked this look. I thought it was interesting. There was a very shifty shade in the Little Mermaid palette, which went from brown to green, and it was quite trippy. It played tricks on the eyes in a really unexpected way, especially from Sigma. These are the sorts of shifts that I would expect from the indie brands, but Sigma really pulled it out with this palette. I thought this look was really interesting, and pairing the shifting green brown with sort of pinky purple undertones in the mattes, I felt like it gave it a new twist on rather an old or at least expected combination. You can see from my smile that I really liked the way that this one turned out. In look number 3, I used one of my very favorite palettes from Eye especially, but also just in my collection in general, the Sea Talk palette, when they collaborated with Lauren My Beauty. In my waterline, I've got Big Splash from ColourPop. On my lips, I'm wearing the Milani Fruit Fetish lip oil in the shade Passion Fruit Coconut, and the Luminoso blush from Milani, which is like my favorite. It's such a lovely, fresh, peachy color. It's so pretty. I just love this palette. It's so easy to work with. It's so pretty. I love every look I do with it. I think this shows up one more time in today's video. And again, you can tell from my smile that I was just really happy and pleased with the final result. This is sort of a soft, light look. It's quite sparkly. It's not too heavy. It's not wild or crazy. The little flash of blue on the lower lash line was such a fun surprise every time I opened my eyes. And I remember doing that and thinking, oh yeah, this is gonna look pretty. But then when I later took the video or saw the video that I had taken, I would look down and you don't see the blue, and then, oh, all of a sudden it's there. Every time I opened my eyes, it was just a sweet, lovely little surprise, a flash of color. Like when a muted bird opens his wings and you can see this array of colors on the under feathers. Do you know what I mean? The light waterline here kind of keeps things a little bit more on the whimsical side, which I really enjoy. And the weird green leaning pink satin shade in the Sea Talk palette is such a great and unique inner corner highlight. It's not expected, it's not standard, it's not maybe even not safe. It's a little bit wild, a little bit of fun, has a bit of flair, and it's such an interesting inner corner highlight that I can't help myself. I can't keep myself from using it whenever I dive into the Sea Talk palette. In look number 4, I used the Sydney Grace Blessed palette. I've got the Spring Magic blush palette from Unearthly Cosmetics, and then I have the the Cosmic Beauty frosting highlighter. I clearly forgot the waterline and the lips for this eyeshadow look, and as you see today, I'm not wearing any makeup at all. I'm completely barefaced except for a little bit of e.l.f. Glow Reviver lip oil. I forget what shade I'm wearing. I might have a chance to film later today, but I wanted to get this video done, and right now my kids are sleeping and resting, and my husband's in class in his office, so right now there's quiet time. We'll see if I have a chance later to do my eyeshadow, but that's okay. I wanted to talk today about all these past looks. One, so that I can get them out of my phone because they've been there for a while. It's been a while since I did one of these videos. And 2, before I forgot entirely about the looks themselves. I feel like this eyeshadow look was kind of like a quiet, relaxed sort of day vibe. Like I'm gonna go to the library and study or read, and I just need some tea to complete the effect. The look I chose was soft and neutral, nothing very exciting, but the Sydney Grace formula is so timeless and so flattering. I think that almost whatever you do with it, possibly whatever you do with the Sydney Grace formula, is gonna come across as a little bit elevated. It's beautiful. If you remember my direct comparison between the Sydney Grace Blessed and the What's Up Beauty Desert Monsoon palette, you'll know that I felt that they were really, really similar color stories. I live swatched, that I did comparison looks, you know, one palette on each eye, but creating the same look. At the end of that video, I thought I would keep Monsoon, but between all of my subscribers and me just letting it marinate over time, I decided to pass along the Desert Monsoon and keep the Sydney Grace Blessed, because the Blessed palette just had cooler tones and a bit of a finer formula, even though What's Up Beauty is gorgeous formula. It was mainly the undertones which I preferred at the end of the day, so I'm glad I did. I mean, the formula is beautiful and the undertones are more flattering on my skin tone. The Blessed palette overall is it's lovely. It's a very safe palette. It's not too crazy, but there are a few pops of color which I intend to use. Okay, so for look number 5 here, I really liked this one. This is the Stone and Rock palette from Udin's Eye. I put brown in my waterline, which is from LA Girl, and it's really creamy and smooth. It's very nice. And then I have the Glow Reviver lip oil. I think the shade Jam Session, which might be what I'm wearing today. Don't remember. But that's more or less what I'm wearing in this clip. I wanted to play with this palette again after drooling over the Cosmic Brushes Undergrowth palette for quite some time. I think both palettes are lovely, but really when I compare them next to each other and I compare swatches, I don't have Undergrowth, but using online pictures, I think that Stone and Rock is more or less the same color story, just a little more toned down, boiled down, reduced, and also doesn't have as many leanings towards redundancy as the Undergrowth palette has, although I adore the packaging of Undergrowth. It's beautiful. And I know that the Cosmic Beauty formula is beautiful too, so I'm sure it's great. I just don't quite feel like I can justify buying it because I have and really enjoy Stone and Rock. This was a fun, murky and swampy kind of look, but then that bright inner corner just brightened everything up, and the bright matte white inner corner led into the lighter, more silvery toned shimmer at the inner part of the lid, which I found to be quite cohesive. I enjoyed this look, but I especially enjoyed combining warm and cool tones to create something that still worked, but was a little bit more interesting than just a green or just murky and swampy or grungy. For look number 6 here, I used the Cold Moon palette from Ensley Rain, black in my waterline, and the Glow Reviver in the shade Pink Quartz. I had already, by this point, done an entire week of uploads using the Cold Moon palette, and I was just having fun, and it was my first Ensley Rain palette, and I was very impressed with the quality. It's beautiful, so I wanted to play with it more. Now, this palette, I feel, despite the fact that it's pretty large and has a lot of pans, is not the most varied color story, and I know I've said this before. The foundational mattes in the palette are pinky or gray leaning sorts of tones. They're all cool toned, and there's not a lot of variety within the actual matte colors. And then as far as the shimmers, the majority of them again lean a little bit more or shift a little more towards the pink side of things. You do have some, you know, maybe a true silver or one that goes a little bit more turquoise or a little bit more gold, but the overarching color story is cool, gray leaning mauves for the whole palette. I mean, I'm not complaining. That's exactly what it looks like, you know. Even in the packaging, it's the same story all the way throughout. I'm just saying, even though it's a larger palette, it doesn't give a ton of variety in the colors of the final looks, but you can change things up with texture or, of course, combinations. This look was really, really light. I just did a wash of matte and then a wash of shimmer and a little bit of a wing to amp things up a bit and bring in a bit of texture or a new element because it was quite a simple look. I liked the smoky waterline. It was very grounding and kept things simple, but it also, it sort of completed the whole thing, I think. It was soft and easy, but it also sort of glows, and it was nice. I liked the look. In look number 7, again, I used the Mighty Monster palette from Udin's Eye. I put black in my waterline, ColourPop shade Matchmaker on my cheeks, the NYX This Is Milky Gloss in the shade Mint Choco Chip on my lips, and the frosting highlighter from Cosmic Beauty. My palette pull-in was again the Lure palette, and I used the dark green matte in the outer corner. That was my palette pull-in. I wanted to try to get a more grounded effect from the Mighty Monster palette, and play with its versatility, or really try to gain its versatility, because it looked versatile in the color story, but I was having so much trouble using it. The sparkle was very pretty, but honestly my biggest problem with this palette was that it was just hard to pick up the shadows. One of my shimmers hard panned immediately and the rest were very dry. A couple of the mattes were a little bit patchy. One of them wasn't terribly pigmented. On the whole, I struggled so much with getting this palette to be a pleasure to use. Even though the final result, like the final looks were pretty, I didn't enjoy getting there. Like the process was kind of soul-sucking. It was really a point of comparison when I used the Lure palette from Blend Bunny that I was seeing a huge difference in quality. The Blend Bunny matte just seemed to stand far and away above the Mighty Monster palette. So, I mean, yeah, you know that I've already decluttered it. I don't know, maybe I got a dud, because Annette's from Annette's Makeup Corner, it's her collab, and she did a great job, I think, with the color story, and she was having trouble with the Udenzai formula during 23 into 24, but she maintains that her own palette was a quality with which she was content. I did not experience that, and this is actually the most disappointing experience I've ever had with Udenzai. And I know I'm not the only one saying that this second iteration of the legendary Diversa trio was a struggle and the quality was not what we were expecting. So I don't know, I would say we got duds, but maybe Annette just got a really good version and then everybody else got duds. I don't know what happened with that. For look number 8, I used the Adept Flying Fiddles palette, such a pretty sparkly neutral palette. In my waterline, I used that creamy brown again from LA Colors, and I did a small wing. Again, with the smile, you can see that I really enjoyed this look. I enjoyed playing with the kind of a warm crease, but then I picked a shimmer that was a little bit more cool, and depending on the light, I feel like I get a slight glimpse or flash of some green, maybe. Maybe it's flipping a little bit green. There's no matte inner corner highlight for me in the Flying Fiddles palette. All the mattes are definitely mid-tone or so, but a light shimmer was doing just fine. It's not as impactful, I think, as a matte inner corner, but it's sparkly and that's pretty, you know. So I did a sparkly inner corner and it was just fine. And then I added the inner and outer wing just to dress it up a little more. I like neutral looks, but I feel like sometimes they kind of feel maybe a little bit boring, and so I might add in a wing or a graphic liner or a bright waterline just to throw in a bit of flair. This palette is very usable, very friendly. It's pretty not dynamic, pretty versatile in that you can go soft, you can go a little more muted or subtle, or you can really dress things up and go a bit more glam, especially if you add in other elements like false lashes if you want to, or even just the wing. It steps it up a little bit. It's great quality and it's easy to get a very friendly and cohesive and workable, also striking look. And finally, in look number 9, again, I used the Sea Talk palette. I put brown on my waterline. On my lips, I'm wearing the This Is Milky Gloss Mint Chocolate Chip again, and the Spring Magic palette, the Spring Magic blush palette from Unearthly. Not on my lips, that's on my cheeks. There's something about the pink iridescent toppery shade which is show-stopping. You can see it on my lid. It's just it catches the light in a really interesting way. And weirdly enough, I feel like it's pretty much the same effect as the one of the shimmer shades in the Makeup Revolution, the Enchanted Icon palette, which I have. When I used a shade in that one, I felt like it was basically the same result, which was really unexpected. And Makeup Revolution might be using the old BH Cosmetics formula, so definitely something to keep an eye out for. I made this look with the cool brown and blue mattes, and then that funky yellow-green inner corner. Again, I can't help it, it's just such a cool inner corner color. The lower lash line ended up somehow pulling a little bit more purpley, and it might have to do with the undertones of the mattes. The cool brown matte tends to lean a little more purple in my skin tone, which is fun, and I'm not complaining. I think especially it's a nice counterpart to the other shades in the palette. I was really happy with the result of this look. I thought that it was eye-catching and kind of, I'm not neutral, but also not wildly colorful, just really pretty and fun and very, very easy to do. Before I forget, let me do my palette pull-in. Again, as I mentioned before, palette pull-in is a project where a random generator pulls a palette from my collection, and I have to bring that palette into any eye look, working with the shades in consecutive order. So, my newest palette for palette pull-in is the Pretty Chic from Colored Rain. This is gonna be easy, I think, because it's a 6-pan, and starting with a shimmery white is perfectly fine. I really like my palette pull-in project on the whole because it's kind of like playing a mini version of palette bingo. Whatever palette or eyeshadow look I'm planning on doing or palette I'm planning on using, then I have this little wild card. It's fun to challenge myself to take a very specific color, which may not work with my original plan, and see if I can incorporate it into my look for that day. Now, I do allow myself to skip the palette pull-in if it's really not working, or if I just really don't want to incorporate that color. Like maybe I'm planning on a super dark black smoky eye and my palette pull-in is a very light shimmer or matte, and I'm thinking, well, it's not gonna work, you know? So it's flexible. I allow myself some leeway there. And again, it's my channel, it's my project. But it's fun to have the palette pull-in as a little bit of an extra challenge. And I'm looking forward to playing with this one. It's only 6 shades, which means that pretty soon I'll be doing a new palette pull-in, and that'll be fun too. So there you go. Those are the last 9 looks that I've done off camera. I hope you have enjoyed them. I numbered them for our chatting convenience. So be sure to let me know in the comments which of these looks has been your favorite, which maybe is something that you are most likely to wear. Are you a one and done sort of person? Do you like to just put a little bit of matte in the crease and walk away? Or are you gonna go for something crazy and colorful? I think today's video didn't actually have a lot of really colorful looks. Yeah, I think maybe Sea Talk, the first Sea Talk look and the Stone and Rock look might have been the most colorful in today's video, but still they were pretty safe. Today's video was, I guess I was feeling all the neutral tones lately. I have come to appreciate neutrals more than ever before, and that's been unexpected. I used to think that neutral palettes were just boring, and now I see them and I go, ooh. I feel a little bit more well-rounded when I'm finding myself enjoying neutrals, because before there was like that whole category I was mentally excluding because it wasn't interesting to me, but now I can appreciate and enjoy them and share them with you as well. I do have a lot more neutral palettes in my collection than I ever did before as well. So anyway, I'm gonna head out. I told my daughter I would make her a cookie after today's video, so I'll go do that, and then we'll see how the rest of the afternoon goes. Maybe I'll have a chance to film my eyeshadow look, or maybe not. Either way, be sure to check the description box for my entire While I Was Out series if you want to see, I don't know, probably 150 or so more looks, because today's the 15th video. And I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here today. Do let me know in the comments which look you enjoyed the most. Perhaps you'll consider liking and subscribing if that's your jam and you want to see more content like this. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
I couldn't spell Afghanistan.
Okay.
But I could spell the capital
Kyrgyzstan?
of Sri Lanka.
Oh, what's the capital of Sri Lanka?
Colombo and Sri Wardenapura Kotte.
And you could spell that, but not Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Bhutan.
I put my this.
Bend your fingers.
But I think this and it hurt.
What is that?
It's just
Are you eating
good.
poor food? Why?
Mama.